welcome back to another lovely tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be going over how to create looks using reference images inside of DaVinci Resolve. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So right now I have a couple clips that are already color graded, and I'm going to go ahead and just delete that color grade from all of them, and so that we have just the raw footage. What we're trying to do today is just match these clips with a color from a reference video. And if you've never used reference videos before inside of DaVinci Resolve or reference images, this is the best way to color grade and will teach you the most about color grading. More than any tutorial, more than any LUTs that you can buy online, this is the way to actually truly learn how to color grade. What is a reference photo? Reference photos are just images from any clip or film that you've seen and you like, and you're going to try to recreate that image. And you can see this guy's a mechanic right here, and so I'm going to be trying to recreate this exact color grade. To store reference images, what you can do is head over to the color panel and actually grab these clips and put them into a power bin. And what a power grade album is just an album that will actually keep all of those images from project to project. That way you can always be looking at these images. If you look right here, I actually have a whole bunch of different little reference images that I use from different movie scenes that I really like. And I always have these stored from project to project so that I can always be referencing different color palettes while I'm doing my color grading. I can go back into here. I'm going to delete these really quick because I already have these saved in my color tab. And how to do that, how to add these in, just right click and you can go ahead and import any type of image from here, and this will go from project to project. So how to actually use reference images. If you come up here to the top right, click these three dots right here, press split screen and turn this on. It's going to give a little highlighted box around your image, and then you just have to pick how you want to be showing your reference image. Over in split screen, I'm going to go down to selected still images. And then over here, if I click any one of these images, it will pop up right next to my video. And if you look down here, it's even giving me a waveform of that exact same image so that I know what that image looks like. Let's go ahead and click. This honestly probably looks the closest to it already. So let's just click this one right here because it shows me two waveforms side by side. And I think that's the easiest to use. And let's start building out our node tree. For this node tree, I'm going to go ahead and just stick with 4 nodes. And what we're going to do here is try to just keep this as simple as possible. I'm not going to use any LUTs. I'm not going to use anything crazy. Really quick, my timeline that I'm using right now, I'm going to go ahead and just find this timeline. This timeline is set to a color managed YRGB, and I am outputting in Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. If you're using a Mac, you're most likely want to change this to Rec 709A, okay? But I am using a PC, and my display is for Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. Okay, press OK, head back to the color tab, and let's go ahead and start creating this reference image. And I'm going to go backwards just a little bit, just because I want to do one thing really fast. At the end of my node tree, I'm going to go ahead and add the film look creator, and then do a clean slate on top of it. That's just going to get rid of the effect entirely. I'm going to go down to film gate, and as you can see, this was filmed in an anamorphic framing right here. So I'm just going to set mine to that exact same framing right there, and I don't want it to have any curvature. So now it's set there, and my scope should be following that also. Okay, let's go ahead and start color grading on this. The first thing I'm going to do right here is just go to my first node, and we're going to focus on exposure. We're going to be using the curves and our lift, gamma, and gain over here. So one thing that I like to do with the curves is turn it to editable splines, and what that does is just allow you to have a little bit more flexibility in manipulating this curve right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring those down, actually bring the blacks up a little bit, and then bring it down, add a whole bunch of contrast to this image, and I'm just going to be looking over at my scopes the whole time. At the same time, I'm referencing the image right next to me. So this is a really, really contrasty image. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of keep playing with this, see if I can get it kind of in the same realm and ballpark. I think something right along there. Okay, I did my exposure. I think my exposure is looking good. Let's go ahead and see it on a full screen. Exposure is looking good. Now let's go ahead and get the color. As you can see, I kind of have a lot of magenta, and this has a lot of yellow and a lot of green actually in the shadows. It's a very The shadows are actually pretty cool. So really warm highlights, kind of yellow, and then really cool shadows. So let's go ahead and do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the blues down. You can see those blues are now kind of matching up, and already that has fixed a lot of the issues. I'm going to bring my greens up just a hair. Keep bringing those blues down. So I'm just pushing a little bit of yellow into that image. And there, as you can see, we're already getting into the realm. So this is where we started. This is where we're at. We've only done 2 nodes so far. And then over here, we're going to go ahead and just punch up our saturation because this thing is super saturated. Let's go ahead, put in some saturation, look at our image. I'm still thinking this is just a little bit more yellow than mine, and it's a little bit more crunchy too. So I'm gonna go back over here, same thing. Gonna bring down my blacks just a little bit more, bring my gamma down. Perfect, I think we're getting there. Maybe push my highlights a little bit more towards the yellow. I'm gonna do that in this node over here just so I can keep things pretty well organized. Okay, and then push some blues into that image right here. And there we go. Okay, now there's a few more things that my image is missing. If you look over here, there's a ton of grain in this image, and this is a pretty clean image right now. So over in the Film Look Creator, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a small little vignette. I'm gonna add halation. I'm gonna add basically everything that Film Look Creator allows me to. Add a little bit of bloom, it'll soften up the image a bit, and not too much, break up the radius a tad. And then the grain that I like to use, that I think is the most common, is actually a 35mm. I'm gonna bring the saturation of it down, and the image to focus, I'm gonna bring it back to 1, because if I bring it all the way down, it'll actually soften this image a little bit too much, and I don't want it to be very soft. So now we look, we can see the grain over here, we can see the grain over here. I don't know if YouTube compression will be showing you it all that much, but we have a very good recreation of these 2 images right here with just a few nodes. And of course, there's just a couple of things that we can always do just to add a little bit more style to this. I'm going to add one more node, and this is one that I like to do because it just adds a little bit more pizzazz to your edit, is I like to add a radial blur at the very, very end. And as you can see, that's way too strong to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and add this and then just bring that blur strength way down. And if you look at that, now it's just kind of blurring the sides of my image just a little bit. We can go ahead and just play through that right now. Perfect. That is looking fantastic. Okay, let's go ahead and just see how that LUT works on the rest of our images. I'm going to go ahead and grab that still, come over here, and I'm going to apply it right here. And there might be some things that we have to tweak up over here just because this is a different image. And the one thing that I'm noticing already is it is way too red. So on this image over here, I'm going to go ahead and just bring down my reds a little bit. Maybe push in a little bit more green. And I think that is already equalizing that footage a little bit better. Let's go ahead, open up split screen again, and we're going to go to our inspiration. Maybe let's click this image because that seems pretty close to what we're looking for. Okay, so I think the yellow right there is pretty good. And yeah, I think this is already hitting pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and just dial in a little bit more blue right there. And I think that is basically perfect between these 2 images. I love the grain over here. I also just love the grain in this image. Of course, we can always turn off split screen really fast. Let's go ahead and turn this off. And there is a hotkey for it. I don't know what it is on Mac, but it's Control-Alt-W on a PC. Again, same thing. I'm going to put that radial blur right there. Let's go ahead and then really bump this sucker up and then just slowly just kind of dial it in. Somewhere around, it'd be kind of cool to just stick it somewhere right on his helmet, right there. So now you can see what that blur is doing right there. Might be a little too strong still. Somewhere around like about 0.1 or 0.25 usually does it for me, just to smooth out the edges of this just a little bit. Perfect. Okay, that image is looking great. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a still from this guy, add it to this guy right here, apply grade, and this guy, I want him to be, put that radial blur right in the center. Because on this guy, what I'm gonna do actually is I'm going to bring him down just a little bit. So if you click this sizing input over here, you can actually just pan down, or sorry, not pan down. You can just tilt the image down a little bit. And I want it right as that, kind of that flare just kind of coming through there for him. And on this one, just because it is so dark, might just raise up my gamma and my highlights just a hair, so we can kind of just be seeing him right there. Perfect. Go to this image, and same thing. We're going to go ahead and just add this, and I'm going to go ahead and click this guy and just bring him up just like that. And same thing, always go in and check, because it looks like I'm just kind of crushing these blacks a little bit too much. So I'm going to bring up the shadows just a little bit so we have just a little bit more detail popping through. Right there. Okay. So that is how to do a reference image inside of DaVinci Resolve. It's a super simple tool, but it is something that really adds a ton to your editing. When you're editing towards a reference photo, that just allows you to build out your looks so much easier, and doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be using a whole bunch of LUTs. A lot of these images from movies do use the same type of LUT, but learning how to recreate it from hand, I think is a more powerful tool to be able to truly learn how to color grade. If you want to look at some of the reference images that I use for all of my color grading, they are going to be in the link in the description below. Feel free to grab a few of them, and well, thanks for watching. Love ya. Bye.